So here we go. This weekend I was on Threads and I saw this conversation. This Canadian was on a business call with a whole bunch of Americans and was flabbergasted that we are not aware that Canada is preparing for war. And you can see the rest of the conversation. That caught my attention, but so did the last one that I'm showing you, where it said they're pivoting their entire economy away from us. So I did some research. You see, I've always looked at more than just American news because American news doesn't always tell us the full story. But I've actually downloaded the apps. 2 of them are for Canada. I've got BBC. I also like The Independent. I go to their website a lot. MSNBC, C-SPAN, and Al Jazeera, because frankly, if you don't look at a whole bunch of sources, you're never going to know what's really going on. So I started looking and trying to figure out what's what and what's really going on, right? Well, it turns out they're right. If you see, now I knew from social media that just because Trump called off or paused the tariffs for 30 days didn't mean Canadians were buying American. In fact, they had decided right then they were going to go ahead and boycott all American goods for the next 4 years at least. And so you can see this video, I tagged it below. It's a man who is a Canadian. He's in a Canadian grocery store showing us how things are now marked if they're Canadian made, and American goods are on the bottom shelf because nobody's buying them in Canada, okay? So then I also was looking, and they're telling the truth. Their trade minister is already pivoting their economy away from the United States and towards Singapore and Australia and the EU. You see, we have this idea that people can't exist without us, but they can. I loved it in the conversation when someone said, we're the abusive boyfriend. So not only do you have that going on, but then yesterday on his way to the Super Bowl, Trump said that he was going to announce today that he was doing 25% tariffs on steel and aluminum. That would affect mostly China, but it would also affect Canada and Mexico. Well, China immediately came back and said, oh, that's okay, because we've already got our beef. We're going to be trading with Brazil and Canada. We're canceling all of our beef contracts in America. Now, I'm in a rural part of Texas. And so when I told my mother that, she was like, oh, that's going to affect so many people around here. And I was like, yeah, but they voted for this. We tried to warn them. They wouldn't listen. They voted for this. They voted to learn the lesson the hard way. Then she said, well, in about 4 years, we'll get someone better and everything will be fine. But I don't think that's true. You see, at this point, we really are the abusive boyfriend, and our narcissistic leader is trying to isolate us, because that's what narcissists do. Because remember, I do criminal defense, but I also do family law, and I have a reputation for helping people get divorced from people with personality disorders like narcissism. And one of the fastest things that narcissists do to their victims is isolate them. And that's what's happening, because the entire world is beginning to pivot their economies away from America. Now, let's say in 4 years we do vote. Well, let's say that we get to vote, because Trump said we won't get to vote again. But let's say we get to vote and we actually get a normal human being back in the White House. Why would they trust us? Why would they pivot their stuff back to us? Because this country's already proven that it can't be trusted in choosing good leaders at this point. I mean, 1/3 chose not to vote. And if you don't choose, then you've chosen. So the third that chose not to vote voted for this. The third that voted for this voted for this. A third of us voted against this. But you know what? 2/3 of the nation decided they wanted to learn this lesson the hard way. So do not be surprised in 4 years if we get to vote again and if we elect a normal person, not a JD Vance or some shit like that, right? Don't be surprised that the globe isn't going to pivot back to us. They will have built trust with one another. They will have helped each other through hard times. We have proven to be untrustworthy. No, I'm not going to cry for anyone who chose this or chose it by not voting and then realizes, oh crap, I just lost my beef contracts, because that's already happening. On social media, we're already seeing farmers and ranchers complaining that their Canadian buyers have already canceled their cotton and beef contracts with them. We've already seen a bunch of farms in Arkansas and Kansas and places like that. They're very upset because they won't be selling their goods to USAID anymore. And that was where they were selling their stuff. So how are they going to pay their notes? Are they going to lose their farms? Are they going to lose their homes? You chose this.